Welcome to Education Influencers, the podcast spotlighting change makers shaping the future of learning. I am your host, Dr. Carla Sparks. Today, my special guest is Dr. Danielle Brewer. When I met Danielle, she was a high school principal. She was implementing and writing about innovative practices at her school. Since then, she has been promoted several times and currently serving as the superintendent of schools in a large school district. Welcome, Dr. Brewer. I'm so excited to see you again and to have you on my podcast. Thank you for saying yes to the invitation, and I'm just so welcoming of you being here today.
Thank you. I would never say no to you, Dr. Sparks. Never.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that sentiment. So let's get right into the information. We have a lot to talk about today. So the first thing I want to know is, since you earned your doctorate in 2022, in just 3 years, you've been promoted several times. Tell us about what doors have opened for you to make a difference in the larger education community.
Okay. Earning the doctoral degree was a huge milestone, but it really was important for me to, one, show my commitment of my own learning of a topic that I was truly invested in. And it was a commitment that I would lead change because of that. And that was really emphasized in our first couple of sessions in that first cohort that first meeting day, introductory class. And I knew that it was a bigger obligation that I would not only learn the information, but I would do something with that. And so I took that commitment seriously. But yes, so since I earned the doctorate degree, I've had so many great opportunities. I was still the principal at North Marion High School in Marion County, and I loved every single second of that opportunity. And then our superintendent came to me and asked me to move to the district office to lead the secondary curriculum department. And that was an honor because I was selected because she saw my passion for instruction and students. So that compliment meant everything to me. And I took that role knowing that, yes, I would miss my students every single day and the teachers, but I would have a greater impact. And I did that role for a little bit of time. And then I was promoted to a principal supervisor role, where I was able to take the lead of supervising high school principals, which was near and dear to me because that's where I had just been a year or two before. And I was still able to lead the secondary curriculum team and lead the principals as a senior executive director. So that was a great opportunity to serve on the executive cabinet team with our superintendent. And then when our superintendent decided to resign from Marion County Public Schools, I applied for the interim superintendent position, and I was selected with a 5-0 vote from our school board members to lead as the interim superintendent while they go through the national superintendent search.
I want to repeat what you just said so it's not missed. You were selected with a 5-0 vote.
I was, and it was a process. I had to interview with all 5 board members. And I knew them. I had always worked closely with them in my role as director of secondary and the senior executive director. I oversaw student discipline, athletics, activities. So I had a close relationship with the board members. I had frequent communication with them, but it still meant everything to me that I was able to interview with all 5 individually, and I was able to secure a 5-0 vote.
That's amazing. Congratulations on becoming the interim superintendent, on making it with a 5-0 vote. I don't recall in recent memory in local school districts seeing that happen. So that's really special. And I'm so excited for you. I'm really excited for you. And I'm very happy for the community that you serve, because I know who you are. And I know what you bring intellectually and professionally, but at the basis of all that is who you are. And so that's kind of a segue to what I wanted to ask you about next.
Okay.
I was so moved by what you wrote in your dissertation preface about your early life. I knew that you had a twin sister, but I didn't know the story about your early life with her until I read the preface of your dissertation, which is like the last thing you do. So here we'd been working together so closely for several years, and I read this, and I would really love it if you would share with our audience what was going on in your early life.
Sure. I did wait for that final piece of the dissertation, and it meant a lot to me to be able to include that because I wanted to show others that might have had struggles early on and even current educators why it's so important to address every single student and to make sure no one's left behind. But let me share a little bit. My twin sister and I were placed in foster care at the age of 4. We were luckily, we were able to remain together at all times, but then we were given the opportunity to be placed with a foster mom named Ann Connor, and at that time, she always was a single female. She never did adopt, and she fought hard to be able to adopt us, and it took her 3 years to fight the system at that time because she wasn't married. So it was an extra layer of challenge for her, but she proved to the courts that she would provide us a stable home. And so with that, we were adopted at 7, and we went through a lot of struggles, though. We were in speech therapy until the end of our 6th grade year when we then had a graduation party because we were finally graduated from speech. My sister and I, who's also a principal, she's a principal in Lake County schools, we spoke twin language, which was a language that we could communicate with each other, and we were able to do that because of survival. We truly survived a lot of abuse and neglect in those early years, and to this day, we're extra close. But we went through speech, and with my mom and all of the educators in our school system in Columbia County, they made sure that we succeeded. And we both graduated, of course, and went on to earn bachelor's and master's. And then I stepped into the National Lewis opportunity and I earned my specialist and a doctoral degree. So I give my mom and teachers all the credit for that success, though.
That is quite a journey. It is really quite a journey, and it is a testament to what the support of others can do for really any child, any struggling child. But it also says something about you and the grit and the perseverance and the determination and your sister as well, that you both have become, whole, complete, and successful adults. And I think that is just absolutely fascinating.
I will share, I always knew because I was able to give back because my mom gave me a second chance. I wanted to give back. And that's partly why I became a teacher. I also adopted my own son because of that. I knew that I've been given that second chance. And my sister and I feel strongly about that. So we became teachers.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, you kind of answered my next question.
Okay.
I'll ask it just in case there's something you want to add. So, how have those early experiences influenced your professional decisions?
Every day. I think when I look at especially some of our novice teachers, I just want to say to them, please stay, please. Our students need you every day. It doesn't matter if they are in kindergarten or a 6th grader or a senior close to walking across the stage. They need that person to connect with them. They need to have that extra support. They may not have a house full of loving families at home, or they might, and they still need that extra love when they come to school. And so I look at these novice teachers and our veteran teachers just to remind them that these students need them so much. So that would be my advice to them or my showing my appreciation to them because without them, our students would be lost. They would be.
Wow. That's a really special perspective on humanity and what we do for one another. That is really a heart of gold. And, some people would have become bitter having gone through what you did. And you decided to make everybody else's life better because of it.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It was important to my mom that we never used our story as a crutch and that we only took action and never used it as a crutch. And I've tried to lead that way, and I've tried to ensure that my own children never use any barrier they've had as a crutch. Yeah,
Wow.
that's important.
That's important and it's impressive too.
Thank you.
So, given all that,
Okay.
how and where do you influence education? It seems a little obvious, but maybe not.
Everywhere, every day. I think I can talk about some things that in the last few years that I've been able to accomplish. Leaving North Marion High School with a successful Cambridge program, I knew that I needed to expand my own learning, but also expand those opportunities to other schools and students. So we have expanded Cambridge at other schools and other opportunities, even at the middle school level. But I've also been able to work in 21 of our secondary schools, coaching principals and coaching our own curriculum team members to ensure that their knowledge gets spread out into all the schools. I've also been able to lead 7 high schools with all of them improving their graduation rates in the last couple of years, which has been important to me because education is making sure that every student can read and that every student can walk across that graduation stage with the diploma. And so those are 2 main things that how I have influenced education. And I think some 2 new exciting things we have is we just became a Cognia district accreditation with our district. And that was important because we were able to include our stakeholders to show how important it was that all of our goals were met. So those are a couple of things that I influence education. I also am involved in the Marion County Children's Alliance, which is important. So yeah, those are a couple of things.
Wow.
Couple of-
That's all really exciting, really exciting. And that you're doing work outside of your school district and serving the top role. And that's a lot. That is a lot. So, what would you say has been the most impactful change you have made in the realm of education during these last 3 years?
Probably I kind of spoke about that already, but I'm very proud of the support that the curriculum department at the district office has been able to provide our schools. In order for the teachers to be successful, they need to have the appropriate resources. And we created lesson plans for our 6th grade and 9th grade ELA classrooms. Those are only getting better each year. We've revised and improved all of our curriculum maps or resources. But I'm extra proud of the targeted work we did to improve graduation rates. We still have a long way to go. I recognize that, but every year we're improving. And that's because I was able to coach the principals through targeted groups and how to move students by addressing every single student. So that's probably the 2 most things I'm proud about in the last few years.
And worthy to be the top things to be proud about, for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
So I know that this is relatively new, but tell us about your work as a top leader of a large school district.
The biggest change I would say is I would consider myself an expert, like we all do at this point, in the academic side of the house. That is where we're the most comfortable. But what's been exciting and different as a top leader is taking on the responsibility of the operational side. So for instance, I entered this job in late April. The first day we were faced with cutting $64 million from our budget. that's a big ask, and most of the time, the academic side of the house, we don't deal with that, and so I had to really work with some other key stakeholders on the operations side, including the finance team and operations directors, to really look at how could we possibly do this? How could we take this huge $64 million and readjust everything we've been working on? So that was exciting in a way to know that we could do that. We could make important decisions and our students would still benefit. So some of the things we did, which were not popular, but we as a top leader, I had to do this. We had to, for instance, increase class size. And as an educator, how important small classes are. So we had to increase our class sizes by 2 for each of the bands. We reverted back to a 6-period day for 3 of our middle schools. I could go on and on, but some of those big decisions we did not take lightly, but it took bringing everyone together from all sides to really collaborate to look at how could we face $64 million. And I'm happy to report that we will have a balanced budget by the end of July. But the operations side has been a challenge as the top leader. I want to share 2 other things about that opportunity is we are opening 2 brand new elementaries next month. We have a brand new high school opening up the following next August. And those are exciting times for me right now being in the interim superintendent role.
It is really exciting to open new schools. And I know from my own experience in K-12 or pre-K-12 that it actually takes years to decide on a site location, to construct the facility, to hire all the contractors, and to go through the processes. You don't just get to pick the contractor. There's a whole process involved in who and how you hire. And then the whole naming of a school, and then hiring the faculty, hiring the administration, opening the school. It's a big thing. So that's been in the works before you were in this role. And then you had to cut $64 million out of the budget with 3 new schools opening at the same time.
At the same time.
Wow.
And we have increasing enrollment. Unlike most districts in the state of Florida, we actually students are coming. People want to come to Ocala. All roads lead to Ocala, as we say during hurricane season. We're excited about that. That means we have more students coming. We have more families coming. We also have more teachers coming. But I think we're up to 46,000 students right now, which is fantastic, which is different than most districts. So when other superintendents are speaking about cutting money, cutting budgets, a lot of those reasons are because they have declining enrollment. We don't. Our biggest challenge has been the increase of revenue because of the Family Empowerment Scholarship. And as educators, we know that we don't really see that money. That's listed as revenue, but it's really just a pass-through. And so that's made a big negative impact on our budget. Big one.
So how did it feel to leave your principalship, school setting, to lead at the district level?
It's never the right time. It's never the right time to lead students. That was hard. The reason I was able to say yes to the superintendent when she asked me, and she asked me close to the school beginning, the reason I said yes was because I knew that I would then have a greater impact with more students. I had the 1,300 students at North Marion High School that I love dearly, but I would now have a greater impact, and I would still be supporting the curriculum of all secondary schools. And I was very fortunate to be able to be invited back the next year for that last graduation, and I was able to hug all of the students that I started with there. So that was meaningful. But that's the only way I was able to do that is I just was confident to know that I would have a greater impact. And with that, I mentioned the cognitive accreditation process earlier. With that accreditation, we walked hundreds of classrooms, elementary, middle, and high. And in all of the work I do, all of our instructional classroom walks, I'm in the classrooms. I'm able to provide that encouragement and support to principals, who then the responsibility is that they provide that encouragement and support and coaching to their teachers and students. So I'm with students all the time. It's not quite the same, but my hope is that I have a greater impact with coaching principals.
I used to get that question when I
Yeah.
became a district leader. People would ask me, "Do you miss the kids?" And I always said, "There are students in my world now.
Right.
There are more students."
Right.
And you're right. The relationship isn't the same when you're not the classroom teacher or the building leader. It's not the same when you're at a district level, but you do have an impact and you've made a lot out of your impact.
And now I have 7 high schools that I get to rotate football games and basketball games, and I have 7 different school shirts that I'm able to rotate Friday night football. So I think that's important because that's what keeps you connected to the students. Going to the athletics, participating in the activities, being active in the weekend whatever the events might be. I recently was able to go to a middle school play to watch their version of The Lion King. So that's how you stay connected. That's how.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's really amazing. So here's a key question.
Okay.
What suggestions do you have for educators who want to be change makers and influencers?
Get involved. Yeah, truly get involved. Make your focus the role of having the most engaging lessons as a teacher, having the most fun you can have as a teacher. Because the more you're engaged in your school community, whether it's being volunteering for any club or activity, but getting involved so those students see you in more than only the teacher role. They need to see you in any of the clubs, art club, music club, any of those things, so they see you in a different light. I think that's important for you to really feel that connected to your own school. And then that energy, I believe, will drive you to want to continue to do more and take on more challenges, take on more initiatives. And that's when you start really making growth. I explain to assistant principals every time there's a new one, I say, at this point, everyone can create a master schedule. Everyone can issue referrals and suspensions. But we need you to do something that's extraordinary. Like do something else. That's how you're going to stand out and make a difference for your school. So that's what I would encourage everyone, from a teacher to an assistant principal. But do be a change maker by going the extra mile, getting involved, doing just that little bit extra.
And so, what you just said begs this little follow up question. What about other people who work in the schools that are not instructional? They're not faculty, they're staff. What opportunities do they have to be change makers and influencers?
We have a ton of opportunities. For instance, they can be supplemental athletic coaches, they can volunteer, they can take tickets to athletic games, they can just participate as a spectator at plays and family nights and open house nights. That their role is just as important. So same thing, getting involved, staying involved, going the extra mile. I'll tell you one little quick story that we have a non-instructional family engagement liaison at one of our elementary schools. She is incredible. She, without anyone telling her to do so, has connected her entire community. She had an ESOL night for student. She had families that could not speak English. They all individually had a person that spoke Spanish with them that night because of her work. She is a non-instructional employee, but she took on this task and she had food donated. She had the place decorated to ensure that those families and their student all felt connected into the school. So that's a perfect example of how everyone has the ability to be a change maker.
That is a great example. That is really a great example. Well, you are definitely also an example of a change maker, and you're exerting a lot of influence these days. And I just want to say once again, congratulations on all that you've been able to accomplish since that day I met you about 6 years ago now.
Yes.
And you came in. Hi, I'm Danielle. And, here's my buddy over here.
Yes. Yeah, been doing great things. But I truly want to credit, and I know you're too humble to accept this, but I would not have completed that dissertation during COVID when we moved online if I did not have you in my world. That moving online was something I would have never selected. But because of you and your constant phone calls and your video chats, I was successful. So I just owe it all to you. I don't have the opportunity to tell you that often, but since I'm here, I have to share that. So thank you.
Oh, well,
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you. It is my privilege every day that I get to work with students at National Louis University when I was in Hillsborough County Public Schools and all the various high schools, middle school, elementary, wherever I've worked. It's always been a privilege. And I think that we, in that way, are kindred spirits.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you. This has been fun.
Yes, it's been a great time for us to reunite and have a little conversation together about what's going on. And I know you're incredibly busy and you have a board meeting to get to. So I want to thank you very much for taking the time out of your extremely busy day to spend time with me today.
Well, it's been great and I appreciate it. And I love sharing the story to show how a classroom teacher can move through the ranks with passion. And I love that part of the story. So thank you for allowing me to share it.
Absolutely. And thank you for sharing it.
Yeah. Have a good day.
Thank you so much.